What about it, YouTube? Okay, let's talk about the George Floyd trial. Or for YouTube's sake, let's talk about a trial that might be like the George Floyd trial in a reality like this one. Okay, so George Floyd trial's going on, trying to decide if he was choked out, if there was other complications, other things, other factors. Some of the other factors they've discussed are drug use, drugs that were going on, what may have been going on, and there's been some discussion that if you took everything out and you had a dead George Floyd and you did the toxicology and it came back with the levels of drugs in his system, that he would have been declared dead of an overdose. Okay, so now they're trying to say that this guy had so much of a tolerance for opiates that he didn't take enough fentanyl that would be the cause of his death. Okay, so they want to persuade it to be that he was choked out. So the defense has tried to bring up that, well, it's not just problematic to be on only one dangerous drug, but when you combine dangerous drugs, then you have polydrug use that could further complicate the issues that you're having, right? And especially when you're mixing uppers and downers, could be considered maybe a speedball kind of thing. Usually heroin, cocaine's a speedball, but if you've got meth and an opiate, meth being an even stronger stimulant than cocaine, you can go ahead, I guess, and call that a speedball. So you're speedballing, you're riding on the edge already. Okay. So that's kind of where the defense is at, I think, with their argument about the drug use and how the combinations, and so that's where we're at. But what's missing out of all of this is something that I think should be talked about. I know a little bit about this. Had a friend, severe junkie, and so I know a little bit about this. If you're taking a maintenance drug like Suboxone, okay, which apparently George Floyd was taking Suboxone. If you're taking that maintenance drug, the reason why it's a maintenance drug is because it keeps you from getting dope sick, because it's an opiate, but it's also a partial agonist. So if you go out on the street and you try to score some Opana or any other kind of opiate, and you take it before your receptors have depleted the Suboxone sufficiently. Okay, stay with me. If you take it on top of the Suboxone, your receptors will suddenly flood out, will be emptied. And you will go into an instantaneous super dope sickness, which is very, very unpleasant. So in your attempt to get high on an opiate, because again, Suboxone is supposed to just be for maintenance. You can abuse Suboxone to get a high effect, but it's not a party opiate. It's meant for maintenance. So if your goal is to party, it typically isn't to go seek out Suboxone. If that's all you can get, sure. But you've got to, because a junkie's got to have something to function. And Suboxone is supposed to give a junkie enough opiates in their system that they can function, but not be high necessarily, right? So that's the deal with it. And so in the case of George Floyd, if George Floyd had taken Suboxone the day of whatever of this incident and thrown fentanyl on top of it, what everyone's missing is not how much fentanyl was in his system or whatever. It's that he has now caused himself to go into a sudden, severe dope sickness. We're talking huge. Because if you're talking about fentanyl being the thing that counteracts being as strong as it is. So I just think that that's something that's missing. They should be talking about how Narcan is an agonist. That's how it saves you if you've been partying on too much heroin and they come to save your life with Narcan, it's because it's an agonist. It dumps the stuff out of your receptors. But in the case of having a partial agonist already in your system, I don't know that Narcan would even be effective as it's supposed to be. You're starting to mix really strange things. Partial agonists with full-on fentanyl. Anyway, I hope you get the point here that I'm trying to make, that they're missing this in the George Floyd case, that if he was on Suboxone that day, and if he did not allow himself to deplete, you've almost got, if you're a junkie and you want to party, but you took Suboxone, you've got to wait till you're almost dope sick to go ahead and party on whatever it is. So if that time hadn't elapsed, George Floyd could have been going through severe dope sickness. And I think that's missing. All right, that's it for this one. God bless.